Hello, I want to show you a few things about interfacing the AMC controller to servo drive for servo motors. This is for a AC servo motor that it's set up for speed torque control. Actually, going to be using only the speed control, which will be -10 to +10 voltage reference. And some control inputs to activate the servo when there's control. Because of the nature of the signal, when the controller is disconnected, the output will be here 0, but for 0 that doesn't come 0 to the servo signal, it comes -10, which will cause the motor to run. So that's why I have the signal on that we need to connect also to make sure that we activate it only when the controller is active. It can control the motor via the loop with the little sensor. So right now I have it active. A good way to control this thing when you hook up and test things, just have a little kill switch hooked up here, which all it does when you activate it could be a little mushroom one that you press down so it locks, or just a little toggle switch. I'm using a push button here, for example. What it does, so this one, it turns off completely the analog part to actual 0 and the digital enable outputs for the servo drive. So you can see here the output, the analog output that goes to the servo. That is the S reference signal at the analog ground, which you can see right here, those two. I made this cable that it's routed, it adds up to how many pins is that? 44 pins. That plugs directly on the servo drive. It provides the analog signal and the enable signals. I have some unused pins, cables that may be used later or interface differently. For example, there's some limit switches you can interface mechanically on the motor. If you have linear actuator, you can put limit switches on the top and the bottom layer, and then just sort them to the ground. You can see here the power source, and it will disable the direction to that of the motor to that direction, so it won't cause mechanical trouble or problems if it's a linear actuator. Right now, like I said, I have connected all this to a relay board, the digital outputs, like you see here. The reason is I need a 12-volt power supply to sync these inputs, not power. So I cannot use the source chips I have here. I could use the ULN, but I prefer to have, since I'm gonna need a power supply here too, I prefer to have that provide the power, external power supply. So the way this is hooked up, I provide the 12 volts for the relay board. At the same time goes to the cable that goes to the servo drive that provides the 12 volts to both relay board and the board here, because you see you have to provide externally 12 volts to activate the photoresistor inside, and then from the return you can switch it, close it, so it will activate it will close the circuit for that input, for example, to activate that input, or the S on, and so on. So you need to connect the power supply externally, so it will go to two places. It will go to the wire, it will go to the inputs, you can see it here, of the relay board, and the rest of the digital inputs here these are isolated, they don't have even common ground, they're just connected to a common of the photo relays and the outputs. So you see a ground and the 6 wires I have here connected that enable those 6 relays here. See? So what else? So you're gonna need also to complete the loop for the servo drive. You're gonna need a control loop for the motor, so you can set the speed, because this works on speed. The only thing you output to that is what speed and what direction, which comes from the sign here. If it's negative, goes clockwise. If it's positive, goes counterclockwise. So you're gonna need a little sensor to tell the controller which is the position of the motor. So it will change the signals from positive to negative, or 0 if it's on the position it's supposed to be. You can see here, goes a little over, negative, it will stay there. Okay. So this is a little different from the bidirectional mode. Actually, there's one thing before I saw the other thing. When you use the kill switch to disable everything, you should be able to see the voltage there to be completely 0 in the output, analog output. So one way to make this happen, because sometimes depending on the power supply or for other reasons it may not come exactly, you can adjust this 0 value from the start position, which this does if you have it on unidirectional like this.